quiet, maybe sometimes it looks like a good cry. But people who are going to meet us and help carry the weight of the hard stuff in our lives. And I think that's a lot of what we believe, and that's a lot of what we want to talk about. And I hope, if nothing else, you leave here feeling like, hey, I'm human, and it's okay to be human. And everyone else in that room, and everyone who goes to school here is human. And so I don't always have to play it cool. Like, I'm actually allowed to be honest, and I'm allowed to admit when things are difficult. And where this whole thing started for me, I grew up in Florida. I grew up a surfer my whole life. My dad owned a surf shop when I was born. And Florida is very different. Like here, we were flying in, and the trees were orange. And in Florida, we have no orange trees. We have orange trees, but we don't have trees the color. I had to catch that one as it came up. And so I just fell in love with the sport of surfing. I don't know if people in Ohio consider surfing a sport, but where I'm from, it's a sport. We can't beat up the other guys who play the other sports, but we really like our thing that we have. And so I grew up at the beach and kind of fell in love with this life and everything that went with it. And when I was pretty young, I had this idea that I kind of committed to, which was that I wanted to work in surfing. I wanted to work in the surf industry. And my dad had these friends that had these really cool jobs. And they worked for Billabong and Quicksilver. And a lot of them made a great deal of money. They worked as representatives for these companies that I kind of worshipped. And they had garages filled with free clothes, and so that was a good gig if you were a kid in the neighborhood. And so, like around junior high, I was kind of committed to becoming one of those people. And I think everyone else wanted to be pro baseball players and like normal things, but I wanted to be a surf industry sales rep, which is kind of weird, I would think, at 13. And my senior year of high school, I got a job working at one of the local surf shops. And I really wasn't good at it. Like, I would put in these incredibly honest schedule requests. Like, if I was tired, I would write that down and just say, hey, I'm tired, I'm going to need Thursday off. And just things you're not supposed to do in real life. And in this job, I got to know a guy who had one of the, maybe like the coolest job. He worked for Quicksilver, he made a bunch of money, he had this great life, a lot of freedom. And he pulled me aside one day, and I was 18 at the time, and he said, I need to hire some help, would you want to work with me as my assistant? And he said, we're gonna start small, we're gonna start slow. Like, first thing he said was, don't quit the surf shop. And the next day I actually quit the surf shop. I wasn't good at following orders. And I worked for this guy for the next 4 years, and honestly, was really bad at it. Was like on the brink of getting fired, and I would be sensitive, and so I would cry when he would tell me that I was on the brink of getting fired. And as a result, like, he could never fire me. It was probably like this codependent thing, I don't know. And so after 4 years of essentially sucking at this job, I don't know if it was God having a sense of humor or what, but I got a call from the people at Hurley, and they said, hey, we need to hire a sales rep for the state of Florida. You'll make at least $100,000, and we don't want to interview anyone else. Would you want this job? And at first I was like, are they joking? And then honestly, I didn't say this, but it really occurred to me, like, this is a bad idea on their part. And I didn't tell them that. And the only interview question they asked,